Lifeless concrete sheltering over a cacophony of machines. Heaps of bubbling black sand. A gush of fog exhaled by massive pipes. An infinite array of colossus all bowing towards the sky as if they are bored by what the earth has to offer. Antonioni's red desert weaves out a stunning portrait of a woman from a fabric of alienating modernity. Beneath all its smokes and mirrors, the film provides an understated look into the modern condition, how human lives are scrutinized by means of exploitation, commodification, disconnected from each other and the world at large. In this video essay, we're delving into how the iconic Italian auteur achieved his entrancing yet deeply confusing world, the way he interrogates effects of deterritorialization, and examine the stunning abstraction of modernity in. The world on display here, however, is a bit different from our reality. It's less so a crystal clear reflection as it is a landscape painted from memory, wielding the paintbrush of the camera. Set in industrial Ravenna, the environment is constantly misty and dirty, with a surreal color palette. The contrast between earthy colors and grays underlines the ongoing societal change during the economic miracle of Italy in the post-war period.
Et je crois d'être allé à la Ravenne, je sais pas, 100 fois dans ma vie. Mais j'ai suivi cette transformation d'un monde naturel dans un monde industriel. C'était presque un symbole, cette ville, du progrès, de la vie moderne. Et c'est pour ça que j'ai eu envie de faire le film.
It is important to note that Antonioni himself stated that it is not specifically about what certain colors typically mean, but solely about the contrast these colors produce in the filmic context. In the end, however, there is one specific color that is worth ascribing meaning to: the yellow of the flame and the hoisted yellow quarantine flag. Even in form, the flag is reminiscent of the flame coming out of the factory and contains strong allegorical meaning. What is industrialization, capitalism, and eventually globalization doing to society? A foreign ship entering a small cosmos that used to be inhabited only by locals, carrying the possibility of illness and toxicity. Is the hoisted yellow flag just the next station on a track that the yellow flame leaving the factory already foreshadowed? Antonioni leaves room for interpretation. The machine of capitalism did not come from nowhere. It is very much so a human endeavor, and Antonioni makes sure to reflect that on screen as well. Characters such as the moneyman of Ugo and Corrado shows the first-hand experience of living as cogs in the machine. Over the course of the film, Corrado explicitly articulates his feelings of isolation and how frustrated he is.
Tu dici cosa devo guardare? Io dico come devo vivere.
As a man constantly thinking about business and developments, he's often posing questions without having any of the answers, and the filmmaking also in part reflects these confusions. The search for profits ultimately leads to a process of dehumanization, of trying to optimize everything in life. None of that is more apparent than in the scene where Corrado briefs his future workers on their Patagonia expedition. At one point where the worker asks more personally affecting questions, he starts to zone out and we get several wandering POV shots, all of which indicates the disassociation Corrado has developed, a malaise for the human experience, his gaze scanning through cargo and crew as if they are the same things, a generalized apathy for the well-beings of others, not being able to find a plane of focus between the warm bodies and cold glass. As described in his paper, Letteri writes, the intent of capitalist axiomatic to subsume everything from the territories, raw materials, workers and women within the system of capitalist accumulation.
Perché è sempre là come un corvo, sempre pronto a buttarsi su una fabbrica in fallimento o su una donna in crisi.
Corrado and Ugo are examples of the new capitalists who turn everything into exchangeable goods and subsume them for their pursuits of profits and pleasure, which creates a very interesting comparison with the center of the whole film, Juliana. Before we can talk about Juliana as a character, we need to introduce the concept of deterritorialization. Proposed by Guattari and Deleuze, deterritorialization refers to the breaking or shifts of boundaries, blurring of groupings and constructions. Through deterritorialization, everything from people and institutions to objects and activities are freed from their previous functions so that they may pursue other aims, while reterritorialization reconnects them to processes characteristic of a new machine. Corrado's POV scene from before already fits into this conceptualization. The way he conflates inanimate objects with breathing human beings reflect the internalized breaking down of boundaries. However, there is also deterritorialization in the filmmaking itself and how it plays with perspective. Through camera and sound mix, a nebulous conflation of objectivity and subjectivity is created. The score is very sparse, however, it adds a lot of texture to the mental manifestation of Juliana for the audience, as it serves as an indicator for her mental state, only appearing at moments of distress and confusion. The sonic qualities of the score also plays a big part in disorienting, as the synth's shimmers echoes the sparse ambience heard throughout the film. Sometimes it is hard to determine whether or not it is fully non-diegetic. Additionally, the melody we hear at the beach story, the wordless passages of the siren call, can also be heard at the beginning of the film. Again, adding to a layer of perspectives, have we been occupying Juliana's headspace this whole time? Creating another form of conflation and connection of externality and interiority in the filmmaking itself. Juliana certainly has a hard time adapting to her evolving environment, making it difficult to comprehend her surrounding and vulnerable in processing the stresses of life. Her body is trapped in the industrialized present, but her mind still carries the weight from the past. The desynchronization creates conflicts and confusion.
C'è qualcosa di terribile nella realtà e io non so cos'è. Nessuno me lo dice.
In the misty dock sequence, Juliana suddenly catches a strange feeling about her husband and friends as they are all staring blankly at her from a distance, which is then followed by close-ups of each character, emphasizing their complete lack of emotion, looking just as mystifying and impenetrable as the mist. Then it cuts back to the long shot where we directly see the four figures remain motionless alongside the expressionless face. In this POV shot, we not only feel the absurdity and oddness inherent to the concept of others, but also an alienation from the way in which Juliana is being perceived. The theory of misfits points out that the ones who can seamlessly integrate themselves into the environment retain their material anonymity, meaning they are ordinary and thus suited in the society. However, Juliana refuses to conform and thus also becomes the center of attention, causing her to be ostracized. As the fog slowly grows, it envelops the crowd so that we can no longer separate them from the mist. The fog is physically detached from the others, but it also resembles Juliana's confusion. We can't tell whether we are looking through an objective gaze or inside Juliana's subjectivity, intertwining external and internal. In the end, Red Desert is a film that is deeply curious about the form of film. It is a text that explores the act of filmmaking and how playing with outlines and conventions creates meaning. There are shifts in focus, wandering cameras, and odd framings, all calling attention to themselves. But ultimately, Antonioni created a film that shifts and blurs its outlines in and around its context, providing a critique of modernity that's special in its execution, in that it puts the photography of reality on film, distancing the audience, while revealing the core of its essence by doing so. The film simultaneously dares audiences to look deep into its subtext, but also stands as a masterfully crafted disorienting experience that is profoundly resonant.